Hey, everybody. If you have just joined us for the first time ever, Turn Left Media is going LinkedIn Live, and we are incredibly excited for this amazing opportunity. We're going to be hosting our first webinar, How to Rock Your LinkedIn Profile, with Stewart Samkange, LTS Relationship Manager in Dublin and African Extraordinaire. And he's going to be leading the conversation on how to rock your profile on our live webinar on Wednesday, the 22nd of April at 1:30 GMT. On 12:30 GMT and 1:30 South Africa time. Right. And I'm incredibly excited to also say that for the first time in LinkedIn Live history, we are pleased to be joined by an interpreter, Anel, as well, who is going to be helping some of our other professional workforce, the hard of hearing and deaf people, and also making sure that this message comes across. Today, to give you guys a live taster on what this looks like, we are going to be taking you through the 6 top tips on how to start with your LinkedIn Live profile. Once Anel joins us again, I see her screen's just frozen, and that's the way technology works.
Yeah, it looks like Marius. Oh, there it is. She's back.
And there Anel's back. Lovely, she's back. So I'm going to switch over to Stewart. He's going to do a quick introduction and then take us through the 6 tips.
Hey, Marius, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good. Hi, Anel. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Excellent. Welcome for me on behalf of LinkedIn, all of the deaf community and those who are hard of hearing. Welcome to the very first ever Rock Your Profile where we actually have an interpreter. So we're breaking new ground from Africa to the world. I'm so glad to have this opportunity to talk to you. The real opportunity is coming on the 22nd, as Marius said, where we will cover how you then bring your brand to life. Because after all, your LinkedIn profile is all about you. It's about how you represent yourself to your professional community, and by doing that, how you access new opportunities. So what I wanted to cover today was really the basics of what you need to do on your LinkedIn profile before we get to the real stream on the 22nd. So I'll assume on the 22nd that you've watched this one. So if you've got a friend, if you've got someone who has been struggling with what are the 6 important things or 7 important things to do on their LinkedIn profile, I'm going to cover that now. So tag someone if you're watching, forward this link to somebody else, because each one teach one, we'll all come out better out of this situation. So if you were to ask me today, what is your LinkedIn profile about? The first thing I will tell you is that your LinkedIn profile is not your resume. Yes, it's a representation of your professional journey, but your LinkedIn profile is about you building your online professional brand and telling your story, talking about your passion, your purpose, and the aspirations that you have. Ultimately trying to convey the human side towards your professional journey. The best way to framework this probably comes from one of my favorite authors and one of my favorite books that I've read. If you reach out and do the search, you'll see one of the quotes that is out there from Maya Angelou, who was an American author and a poet, was the one where she said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." For once in our lives, we have an opportunity to help tell our story and bring it to life with the use of rich media and all sorts of other pictorial and engaging ways to tell our professional story so that the world can understand and align opportunities with us. What can you do with LinkedIn? Before we get into the tips, you can use LinkedIn to hire, to market, to sell, and to learn if you're an organization. And what can you do with LinkedIn as an individual? You can use LinkedIn to connect with your professional network. You can use LinkedIn to stay informed of what's happening in your industry and what are the trending thoughts and some of the best practices that are out there related to your industry, and connecting up with those like-minded professionals. You can also use LinkedIn as a platform to learn. And currently at LinkedIn, you will see we have over 16 courses that have been made available to help you learn around building your profile and presenting yourself as a professional on the platform. With that said, the most obvious one is the one that everyone knows, that you can use LinkedIn to connect with economic opportunities, such as getting hired. So I hope that what you'll get from those quick tips that I'm about to share with you will help you build your professional brand and best build your background so that people can connect you to relevant opportunities that are aligned with your aspirations. Marius, I think I got a bit of feedback on your side. Is that correct?
I will quickly just mute while you're talking.
Okay. So as we start looking at your profile, as I said, this is going to be a quick update and a quick share. So what is your profile about? Well, in summary, it's telling the world who you are, what you do, why does that matter, and what your contribution you're making to the work that you do. When I talk about contribution, you could think of this as impact as well. What impact you're bringing in the work that you do. So let me summarize it again. What is your profile about? In my personal perspective, it's telling the world what you do, why you do what you do, and why it should matter in summary. Marius, I will now move into the specific things that you've got on the screen. And what's the first point that you've got there? Your photograph. Excellent. When it comes to a photograph, what happens is that the human mind processes images up to 60,000 times faster than it processes text. So it pays for you to have a great photograph, a visual representation of who you are. And the data at LinkedIn also has proven that if you have a photograph to your profile, it will increase the number of connections that you make up to 9 times more. So you don't want to miss out on that. On the photograph, don't overthink it. You can use your phone and take a professional photograph that represents yourself. I said take a photograph because sometimes we're tempted to use photographs that we have before where we crop out someone else or we have our family in the photograph. LinkedIn is a professional network. So you want to make sure that your professional best brand is out there. And what would I also say as a best practice? Maybe make 60% of that photograph just your face. Because again, when people do go onto LinkedIn, as we've found, most of them are going in using mobile phones. And as such, you have a limited screen. So it pays that 60% is a warm, welcoming face from you that is your current, authentic self. Don't want to pitch up in that room looking different than what you look like on your photograph. So go out there. There's filters that you can also add, and it will increase the number of times people view your profile, up to 21 times. But I also want to stop at this moment and just highlight again, LinkedIn is all about members first. Your experience, your safety matters to us. So if you do not want to have your photograph seen by people that are reaching out to you, and you only want your photographs to be seen by people you've connected with, this is just but one of the features that you can go into to edit and make sure that the only thing that is seen is the things that you want to be seen. So your work experience, your volunteer experience, your photograph, you can go into any one of those security settings and ensure that it's a representation of you and that only the people you want get to see it. Marius, are we still connected? And how are we pacing? Are we still live?
We're still live and everything is going well. Thanks, Stewart.
Super. Number 2 then. What is point number 2, Marius? Just to make sure you're engaged.
Your location. It's number 2 on the left-hand side.
Excellent. Your location. Number 2, if you're following the image that's on the left-hand side, is about your location. Have you ever wanted to find people that are in your industry, that are within the same geography as yourself, whether it's looking for a partner, a mentor, a coach, a potential investor, or even when you're looking to hire someone. Well, you'll be surprised to know that people search by location up to 300,000 times in a given week. So you want to make sure that your location is correct. Now, here I've seen a bit of a schoolboy error that some of us make, is that sometimes in the location, we put the desired location of where we would like to work. We put geographies where we aspire to travel to. This doesn't work in your favor, as recruiters and the jobs that are being posted sometimes are earmarked for specific locations. And if you don't have the right to work in those locations, you might find that you'll get yourself eliminated from that process, or not have access to those processes purely because your location is not correct. So please take time this week to ensure that your location is geographically correct. Oh dear, it is Monday morning. Let's just make sure that our location details are absolutely correct, because that will make sure that when opportunities arise and surface that are within your distance, you will be put in for them. What's more, there's an exciting part of LinkedIn that's come on board, which is remote work. There are people who are looking for subject matter experts just like you, but they're looking for you to work remotely from your location. So make sure it's correct, and then you won't have any challenges. Marius, what's point number 3?
Your summary, that amazing elevator pitch.
Yes, that summary and that amazing elevator pitch. Now, I know this can be probably one of the hardest things to do, talking about yourself. But for once in our lives, we actually have a place where we can tell our compelling story. For once, we have a place where we can tell about our aspirations. What is best practice around your elevator pitch, or what we're calling your summary? In your summary, the first thing I would say is make it from a first-person perspective. Most of us cannot afford to have a copywriter or a publicist who writes on our behalf. So, if that being the situation, then let us write in our first-person preference, which is a first-person narrative, which is speaking from heart, telling your story so that it's more authentic. Secondly, I would encourage you here to use short and concise paragraphs. I'm still struggling with this one myself, but yes, use short, clear, concise paragraphs that will allow your audience to quickly read through it. This is probably the place that most recruiters and hiring managers, or even other professionals, read about you beyond looking at your professional or your work experience. And as I said before, you can go in and adjust those visibility settings to choose the right words that represent you. Why is it important to spend a little bit of time on this? Well, it will increase the number of views that you get. It will increase the engagement types that you'll have with people once they understand a little bit more about your career, your accomplishments, your aspirations, and what motivates you and drives you as an individual. Marius, what do we have as point number 4?
Share your experience.
Work experience. Excellent. As we have time now, working from home, remaining safe, this is probably a good time to look at your work experience. Around work experience, I want to share my personal best practices and then back it up with some data. So when it comes to work experience, my recommendation is to think of this like an upside down triangle. That's right, upside down triangle. That's it, I see it there now. Nice, lovely. Why an upside down triangle? Well, the people who are trying to connect with you are probably more interested in what you're currently doing rather than where your career journey started. What I would also recommend is that as we build out this information about our work experience, we desist from the practice of turning it into be like our resume. A simple cut and paste of all of the things that you do on a daily basis is not helping your brand. Let's use this space to tell a story. I'm going to give you some guidance on what is best practice from a personal perspective, and you can choose to use or not based on your industry. So first off, I like to explain who the organization, who is the, oh God, Marius, do you have virtual coffee?
Are you a bit tired? Is Dublin time making you sleepy?
It's Monday, but nevertheless, here we go. On work experience. I like to first tell the story of who I was working for. What does that organization do? Not all organizations are known to everyone. So it pays you at first to introduce the organization you work for and what industry or what work they did. Keep it short. Secondly, I like to describe the work that I was doing. So I worked for this organization, and specifically the work I was doing for that organization was fill in the blanks. Then thirdly, I like to point out the impact that I've had. And around impact, it pays, if this information is not confidential, for you to make it as factual as possible. This is where maybe you could possibly use bullet points, highlighting your accomplishments. And again, let's be mindful around this, because remember, whatever you share is open to your customers, your partners, stakeholders, everyone. So you want to be mindful about the language and, of course, not reveal anything that's confidential. Now let me back it up with the data. So if you put in your work experience, you're more likely to get 8 times more views. If you put in your work experience, you're more likely to get 5 times more connection requests. If you put in your work experience, you're 10 times more likely to get messages. So please, let's spend a little bit of time and detailing our work experience. Marius, what's point number 5, I believe?
Pictures and videos, sharing your digital online resume.
Excellent. And I'm so glad that we've got those who are deaf and those who are hard of hearing on this particular one. It's the first ever in the world which we've done a Rock Your Profile where we actually have an interpreter. So super proud. And again, Enel, if I haven't said it, thank you. So, so when it comes to pictures and videos, for once the world has a flat line around this, you have an opportunity to be equally competing with other people and enhancing your personal profile by adding visuals to it. And there's no limitation. But of course, you want to be mindful not to overload your audience. So what can you put here? You can put pictures, videos, and digital representations of the work that you've done. This could be a link to a website, a YouTube video that your company has already publicized, or slides that you prepared and shared and which are actually open content. Of course, we want to be mindful about sensitive information, but this is a great way for you to tell your story. And again, if you're moving from formal employment and are just beginning to set up your organization or are running a small business, this is a great place to allow you to carry your business with you everywhere. Because think about it. As you meet people, once the social distancing is done, or when people look up your profile, and again, most people look up our profiles when we're not there, we want to make sure that our brands are best represented. So if you put a 2-minute video, or you put in a slideshow, or you go and put in a visual representation of a project you recently completed, or you put in a copy of your thesis, if you're still in university or just leaving, or you put in your final year project, all of these types of creatives, you can attach them as rich media, as documents, as video links on your profile. This will not only help your profile stand out, but it gives you a conversation point. Because if you think about it, if someone watches that video, they're likely to ask, what was your part in this particular video that you've shown us? Which gives you an opportunity to tell a story. Marius, back to you, bud.
Stewart, tell us about your education, and it can't just be about the School of Hard Knocks.
Education. So yeah, I actually went to the University of YouTube and LinkedIn Learning. So your education, folks, first things first, make sure as you put in your university or your institution that you studied in, that you're letting LinkedIn type ahead the details for you. So if I went to the University of Pretoria, I would first type in the word University of, then I would type PRE, and then I would let LinkedIn pop up the rest of that. Because if I do that and I accept what LinkedIn brings up when it searches ahead, it ensures that my profile is linked to my university. And if it is the University of Pretoria, what will then happen is that I will be linked to the alumni, which is all the people that have studied in the university, which is another great LinkedIn feature that most of us don't capitalize on, is the ability to go to a university page and do a search for people that studied in that university. Where are they working? Because guess what? We're all about connecting you to economic opportunities. You will be able to see on the university's alumni page where those people are working, which countries they're in, and what they studied, so that you can reach out and say, look, I'm looking for a job, a mentor, a coach, sponsorship, partnership, speaking opportunities. So many opportunities are available on LinkedIn if you just do the little bit of work to research and connect up with people. It's such a warm and an easier way to reach out for opportunities by making reference to the fact that we were in the same school, we studied the same program, you finished 3 years ahead of me, and I see you live in Johannesburg. Please, can you help? Or this is how I'd like to help you. After all, this platform does allow for both ways of the help to reach each other. So make sure on university that after you've put it in, it's showing your university or institution's logo. If it's not, well, the onus is on you to reach out to that institution and tell them to get a page, because you're not only doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your entire community. It lends credibility when we have our school badge right next to our logo. Marius, over to you.
Lastly, endorsements. So recommendations are the social currency of the world. And how can you use this amazing professional network to help you get ahead?
Excellent. So when you build your LinkedIn profile, you're telling us about the skills that you have as an individual. Endorsements is where people come in and revalidate that for us. So Marius, with your endorsements, your first degree connections can go in and endorse you for those skills that they observed with you. With endorsements, only first degree connections can do that. Whilst LinkedIn is not a popularity contest for us to go and connect with people that we don't know or would otherwise never meet, I think it's important that we relook at the network that we have, and then also see if we can reverse endorse other people. So as much as you're looking to receive endorsements, look out for your former colleagues, your partners, your stakeholders, your suppliers, and see if you can endorse them around the skills that you've observed. And the beauty about this is that as you endorse, LinkedIn asks you to validate the relationship that you had with that person as you put in that endorsement. And Marius, if you'll allow me, endorsements for me goes very much hand in hand with recommendations. Recommendations is where someone goes and types in a bit of a testimony about the relationship or the specific relationship or specific achievements that you might have had as an individual. So again, the onus is on you to think back. Who in your career have you had impact with? Who in your career has praised you for some of the things you're really good at? Look back, pick up a phone. I know on LinkedIn there's a button there that says ask for recommendation, but I honestly urge you first to speak to the human being, jog their memory. Hi, this is me. Good to talk to you, good to connect with you. Just wanted to ask you, please. I worked with you on this specific project, and these were my specific achievements. I'm asking that please, if you can, return the favor by endorsing me on LinkedIn and also giving me a recommendation. On the recommendation, I'm asking you to specifically highlight the following skills or the following processes or following achievements. That makes it so much easier than just simply clicking on a button that says, ask for a recommendation, because there's so much we can say about each other. But if you're more specific, it will make it easier for someone to recommend you. And of course, if you're reaching out to someone who's a senior, who is an executive, and you feel that they might not have time, one of the things that you could do to make it easier for them is perhaps to draft out a small summary of what you'd like to be recommended on. They can then, you forward this through to them, they can choose to edit it and put it on your LinkedIn profile. But here's the beauty with recommendations. I said LinkedIn is all about you as a member. So when someone recommends you, first it comes to your inbox so you can validate and look at it. And if there's spelling mistakes or maybe they've misquoted you, you might want to then send it back to them. When they have made their corrections and you're happy with them, then you can choose to have it added to your profile. So again, it's all about you. LinkedIn, if I was to think of an analogy, it's like really driving a beautiful car. You want to be able to adjust the seats, the mirrors, the radio, and everything else so that it's to your comfort. What you get out of LinkedIn is based on what you put into it, the people we connect with, the companies we follow, the groups that we participate in, the hashtags that we choose to follow, and of course, the thought leadership that we're putting out. If it's engaging, entertaining, and of course, educational, then you're more likely to connect with more professionals. But let's keep it professional. It is, after all, a professional network.
Stewart, thank you so much for that. In these uncertain times, it's even more important today than ever before that you position yourself in the correct professional environment, that you use these social elements to broaden your voice, whether it is as a thought leader, a business owner, a professional, or just somebody looking for a new opportunity. Utilize the social aspect of LinkedIn and of your professional identity to make sure that you position yourself in the best way possible to your entire network and to your peers. So thank you very much for these short tips. Again, I'm pleased to say, yeah.
Sorry, just thought of some things. Of course, we're all working from home and there's a lot of homeschooling and having the kids around you. I found myself spending a lot of time with my kids and always reminding them of the expression, manners maketh a man. So again, when you were talking about social, how people reach out to each other. So if you're asking to connect with someone, put some justification behind it. If you're engaging with someone's content, keep it professional, keep it kind. And again, when you're putting out your content, allow other people to share their point of view. You don't know it all. This is a platform where we all can learn from each other.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. Again, this is a world first. It's the first time that we are increasing accessibility on the platform, and we're really, really pleased to have Anel with us today to help us with the sign language interpretation. We are incredibly excited to do the full Rock Your Profile experience on Wednesday, the 22nd of April. It's 12:30 GMT, 13:30 South Africa time. We ask as many people to join us as possible as we continue with this world first. And thank you very much for the time today. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
It's time to
Thank
shine.
you.